The morning after my 20th wedding anniversary, my wife asked me over coffee, "Do you mind if Brett comes over tonight? We have some legal briefs to review." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I just smiled and nodded, sipping my coffee like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. The night before, while Lila showered off the champagne and lies from our anniversary dinner, I'd seen her phone light up on the nightstand. Brett's name flashed across the screen with a message. "Can't wait to have you again tomorrow night. Your husband's such a clueless idiot." 20 years of marriage, 20 years of building a life together, raising our daughter Emma, growing my engineering consulting business from nothing into something respectable. All of it reduced to a late-night text from her sleazy law firm colleague. My name is Will Baker, and I'm a 44-year-old automation engineer who thought he knew his wife. Turns out, I didn't know Jack. "That's fine, honey," I said, watching Lila butter her toast with the same hands that had been all over Brett Fulton last Tuesday, when she claimed to be working late. "I'll make myself scarce." Lila looked relieved, which should have been my first clue that this affair had been going on longer than one night. My wife of 20 years, the woman who used to laugh at my terrible engineering jokes and steal my hoodies on cold mornings, was relieved that I wouldn't be around to witness her betrayal. "Thanks, Will. You're the best." She kissed my cheek with lips that had probably kissed him the same way. "I know these late-night work sessions are hard on you." Hard on me. Right. If she only knew what was about to be hard on her. I spent that morning in my workshop behind the house, surrounded by the familiar smell of machine oil and the comforting hum of my equipment. This was where I felt most at home, where problems had logical solutions and broken things could be fixed. Unlike marriages, apparently. My phone buzzed, a text from my daughter Emma away at college. "Hope you and Mom had a great anniversary. Love you both." 20 years old, bright as hell, studying pre-med at Ohio State. She had no idea her family was falling apart. I'd make sure to keep it that way, at least until I figured out my next move. Another buzz, this one from my brother Mike. "How was the big 2-0 celebration? You two lovebirds do anything special?" I stared at the phone for a long moment before typing back, "Oh, it was special all right, really eye-opening." The workshop door creaked open. Lila stood there in her power suit, briefcase in hand, looking every inch the successful attorney she'd become, beautiful, confident, and apparently a world-class liar. "I'm heading to the office early," she said. "Want to clear my schedule so Brett and I can focus tonight." "I bet you do." She frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Nothing, sweetheart. Just that you two work so well together." Something flickered across her face. Guilt, maybe, or suspicion. But it was gone so fast I might have imagined it. "We do. He's a really talented lawyer. I'm sure he has many talents." Now she was definitely suspicious. "Will, are you feeling okay? You're acting strange." "Just tired. Anniversary celebrations take it out of an old man like me." She laughed, the same laugh that used to make my heart skip. Now it just made me sick. "You're not old. 44 is the prime of life. Tell that to my back after last night's activities." Her cheeks flushed pink. She was thinking about Brett, not our anniversary dinner. The realization hit me like a punch to the gut. "I'll see you later tonight," she said, already walking away. "Don't wait up." I watched her drive away in the BMW I'd helped her pick out 3 years ago, when her promotion to junior partner came through. We'd celebrated that night with champagne and promises about our bright future together. Funny how futures can change overnight. I spent the rest of the morning researching Brett Fulton. Social media made it easy. The guy was practically begging to be stalked. Instagram photos of expensive dinners, his luxury condo downtown, weekend trips to places I recognized from Lila's recent work conferences. Brett was 38, divorced, drove a Mercedes, and apparently had a gambling problem based on his frequent posts from the casino. He was also exactly the kind of smooth-talking pretty boy that I'd always worried might turn Lila's head. Turns out, I was right to worry. By noon, I had a plan. Not a great plan. Maybe not even a smart plan, but a plan nonetheless. If Lila wanted to play games, I'd show her how an engineer approaches problem solving. First step, gather more intelligence. I drove to Fulton & Associates, the law firm where both Lila and Brett worked. The building was all glass and steel, the kind of place that screamed, "We charge $500 an hour and we're worth it." I parked across the street and waited. At 12:30, they emerged together for lunch. Brett's hand was on the small of Lila's back as they walked to his Mercedes. She was laughing at something he'd said, her head tilted back in that way she used to laugh at my jokes. They drove to Romano's, an upscale Italian place downtown. I followed at a distance, feeling like a private investigator in a bad movie. But this wasn't a movie. This was my life falling apart in real time. I parked where I could see them through the restaurant window. They sat close together, sharing food, touching hands across the table. Lila looked happier than I'd seen her in months. My phone rang. Lila. "Hi, honey. Just grabbing a quick lunch between meetings. How's your day going?" I watched her through the window as she lied to me, Brett's hand covering hers on the table. "Oh, same old stuff. Working on the Henderson project. Where are you eating?" "Just the deli near the office. Nothing fancy." Brett was feeding her a bite of something from his plate. She was giggling like a teenager. "Sounds nice. I'll let you get back to it." "Love you, Will." The words hit me like a slap. I watched her hang up and immediately turn her attention back to Brett, who was now stroking her cheek with his thumb. "Love you too," I whispered to the empty car. That afternoon, I made a decision that would change everything. I called my old boxing coach, Danny Torino, and asked if I could use the gym after hours. "Sure thing, Will. You finally ready to get back in shape?" Something like that. I'd boxed amateur in my 20s, before marriage and career took over. Nothing serious, just enough to know how to throw a punch and take one. But right now, I needed to hit something before I did something stupid. The gym smelled like sweat and determination, familiar scents that brought back memories of simpler times when problems could be solved with training and technique. I wrapped my hands and went to work on the heavy bag, each punch carrying 20 years of frustration. "Easy there, champ," Danny called out. "That bag's got a family." "Sorry, working through some stuff." "Woman trouble?" I paused mid-punch. "How'd you guess?" "Same look my ex-wife had before she cleaned out my bank account." "What's the story?" I told him. Not everything, but enough. Danny listened without judgment, the way only an old friend can. "So what are you going to do about it?" "I don't know yet, but I'm not going to just roll over and take it." "Good. A man's got to have some pride." Pride. Yeah, I'd had plenty of that 24 hours ago. Now I had something else, a cold, calculating anger that scared me a little. I got home at 6. Lila's car was already in the driveway, which meant Brett was probably already inside. In my house, possibly in my bed. The front door was locked, which was unusual. Lila never locked the door when she was home. I used my key and stepped inside to the sound of laughter from the kitchen. "Will?" Lila's voice carried a note of panic. "You're home early." "It's 6:30. Same time I always get home." I walked into the kitchen to find them sitting at my table, legal documents spread out between them, 2 glasses of wine, my wine, half empty. Brett Fulton was everything I'd expected, and worse. Perfectly styled hair, expensive suit, the kind of confident smile that said he'd never been punched in the face. He stood up and extended his hand. "You must be Will. I've heard so much about you." I bet he had. I shook his hand, resisting the urge to squeeze hard enough to break something. Brett, right? The colleague. That's right. Sorry to invade your home like this. Lila thought it would be quieter here than the office. I'm sure she did. Lila was watching us both carefully, like a referee waiting for the first punch to be thrown. How long have you two been working together? I asked. About 6 months now, Brett said. Lila's been invaluable on the Morrison case. She's very talented. The best. You're a lucky man. Lucky. Right. Well, I'll leave you two to it. I've got some work to catch up on in my shop. I started to turn away, then stopped. Oh, Brett. Just so you know, the guest bathroom upstairs is off limits. Plumbing issues. If you need to use the facilities, there's a half bath down here. He looked confused. Okay, thanks for the heads up. Lila shot me a strange look, but I was already walking away. I didn't go to my workshop. Instead, I went upstairs and quietly installed a small security camera in the hallway, angled to capture anyone who might ignore my warning about the guest bathroom. The camera was motion activated and would send alerts to my phone. Call it an engineer's paranoia, but I had a feeling Brett Fulton wasn't the type to respect boundaries. I was right. At 8:47 p.m., my phone buzzed with a motion alert. I opened the app to see Brett emerging from the guest bathroom, adjusting his tie. But that wasn't what made my blood boil. It was what he did next. Brett didn't go back downstairs immediately. Instead, he walked into my bedroom, and stood there for a moment, looking around like he was shopping for real estate. Then, he opened Lila's jewelry box and pulled out the diamond earrings I'd given her for our 15th anniversary. He held them up to the light, examining them like a jeweler appraising merchandise. Then, he put them back and moved to my side of the room, opening my dresser drawer and rifling through my personal belongings. The bastard was casing my house. I was halfway up the stairs when I heard Lila's voice. Brett? What's taking so long? Just admiring your beautiful home, he called back, quickly closing my drawer and heading for the hallway. I ducked into Emma's room and waited for him to pass. Through the crack in the door, I watched him smooth his hair and straighten his jacket before heading downstairs. Sorry about that, I heard him say to Lila. Your husband was right about the plumbing. Took forever to get the water running. Liar. The half-bath worked perfectly fine. I stayed hidden until I heard them settle back into their work session, which apparently involved more wine and less actual paperwork. From Emma's window, I could see into the kitchen. They were sitting closer now, Brett's hand resting on Lila's thigh as she leaned into him. My phone buzzed with a text from my neighbor, Mrs. Henderson. Everything okay over there? Saw a strange car in your driveway. Mrs. Henderson was 73, widowed, and had appointed herself the neighborhood watch committee. Usually, her nosiness annoyed me. Tonight, it gave me an idea. I texted back, Thanks for keeping an eye out. That's my wife's colleague. They're working on a big case. Oh, how nice. They look very close. Must be a good working relationship. Even Mrs. Henderson could see what I'd been blind to for months. At 10 o'clock, I heard the front door close and Brett's Mercedes start up. I waited 5 minutes, then went downstairs. Lila was in the kitchen cleaning up wine glasses and gathering papers. She looked flushed and happy the way she used to look after we'd spent an evening together. How did the work session go? Really well. We made a lot of progress on the brief. I'm sure you did. Brett seems like a thorough guy. She looked at me sharply. What do you mean by that? Nothing, just that he's very attentive to detail. He's a good lawyer, Will, one of the best at the firm. And modest, too. Why are you being so sarcastic? I shrugged. Long day, I guess. I'm going to bed. I'll be up in a few minutes. But she wasn't. I lay awake until midnight, listening to her move around downstairs, probably texting Brett about their evening together. When she finally came to bed, she smelled like his cologne. The next morning, Lila was gone before I woke up. No coffee made, no note. Just an empty house and the lingering scent of betrayal. I called in sick to work, the first time I'd done that in 3 years, and spent the morning reviewing the security footage from the night before. What I saw made me want to put my fist through the wall. After I'd gone upstairs, Brett and Lila had moved from the kitchen to the living room. The legal documents were forgotten as they made out on my couch like teenagers. His hands were all over her, and she was responding like a woman who'd been starving for attention. The worst part was how happy she looked. Genuinely, radiantly happy in a way I hadn't seen in years. I was still staring at the footage when my phone rang. Emma. "Hey, Dad, how are you doing?" "Fine, sweetheart. How's school?" "Good. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about something. Mom called me yesterday and she seemed, I don't know, different. Happier, I guess, but also kind of secretive. Is everything okay between you two?" My daughter, the psychology major, picking up on things from 300 miles away that I'd missed living in the same house. "Everything's fine, Em. Your mom's just excited about a big case at work." "Okay, but Dad, if something was wrong, you'd tell me, right? I mean, I'm not a little kid anymore." "Of course I would." Another lie to add to the growing pile. "Good, because I love you both, and I want you to be happy." After she hung up, I sat in my workshop for a long time, thinking about happiness and lies and 20 years of marriage that apparently meant nothing to my wife. Then I got to work. My first stop was the public library, where I used their computers to do some deep research on Brett Fulton. What I found was interesting. Very interesting. Brett had been married before, divorced 2 years ago. The divorce records were public, and they painted a picture of a man with expensive tastes and poor impulse control. His ex-wife had cited financial irresponsibility and infidelity as grounds for divorce. He owed money to several creditors, had 2 judgments against him for unpaid debts, and according to social media, spent most weekends at the casino. The expensive car, the fancy clothes, the luxury condo, it was all financed debt. Brett Fulton was broke, desperate, and apparently saw my successful wife as his ticket to financial security. My second stop was Lila's favorite coffee shop, where I struck up a conversation with Jenny, the barista who'd been serving my wife her daily latte for 3 years. "Oh, Mrs. Baker, she's been so happy lately. Always comes in with this gorgeous guy from her office. They're so cute together. You can tell they're really in love." In love. The words hit me like a physical blow. "They come in together often?" "Almost every morning for the past few months. He always pays, too. Such a gentleman." Months. This had been going on for months, not weeks like I'd thought. "Does she ever mention her husband?" Jenny looked confused. "Her husband? No, I don't think she's married. At least, she doesn't wear a ring." I looked down at my own wedding band, the simple gold circle I'd worn for 20 years. Lila had stopped wearing hers months ago, claiming it was too loose and needed to be resized. That evening, I was waiting in the living room when Lila got home. She looked surprised to see me there. "You're home early." "Actually, I'm home at the same time I always am. You're the one who's been getting home late." She set down her briefcase and studied my face. "Will, what's going on? You've been acting strange for days." "Have I? Or have you just started paying attention? What's that supposed to mean?" I stood up and walked to her, close enough to smell Brett's cologne on her clothes. "It means I know Lila." Her face went pale. "Know what?" "About Brett. About the coffee shop. About the fact that you told Jenny you're not married." She sank into the nearest chair, her composure finally cracking. "Will, I can explain." "Can you? Because I'd love to hear how you explain 6 months of lying to my face." "It's not what you think." "Really? Because I think my wife is having an affair with her colleague. I think she's been bringing him into our house, into our bed and lying about it. I think she's told people she's not married and stopped wearing her wedding ring. What part am I getting wrong?" Tears were streaming down her face now. "I never meant for this to happen." "But it did happen. For months." "Yes. The simple admission hung in the air between us like a death sentence. Do you love him? She looked at me with eyes full of pain and guilt and something else, relief, maybe, that the secret was finally out. Yes. I nodded, surprised by how calm I felt. The anger was still there, burning cold and steady, but it was controlled now, focused. Then I guess we have nothing left to talk about. Will, please, can't we try to work this out? Work what out, Lila? You love another man. You've been lying to me for months. You've humiliated me in front of strangers and made our daughter worry that something's wrong. What exactly is there to work out? I don't know. Counseling, maybe? A trial separation? So you can keep seeing Brett without the inconvenience of sneaking around? That's not what I meant. Isn't it? She didn't answer, which was answer enough. I want you to leave, I said quietly. Will, this is my house too. No, it's not. It's the house I bought with money from my business, that I've been paying the mortgage on for 15 years. Your name might be on the deed, but you stopped living here months ago. You've just been using it as a convenient place to shower between dates. Where am I supposed to go? I don't know. Brett's place? A hotel? Frankly, it's not my problem anymore. She stared at me like she was seeing a stranger. Maybe she was. The man who'd been making her coffee every morning and pretending not to notice her lies was gone. In his place was someone harder, colder, and infinitely more dangerous. I'll pack a bag, she said finally. Pack whatever you want. But Lila, don't take anything that belongs to Emma. And don't you dare try to turn her against me. I would never do that. You would never cheat on your husband either, but here we are. She flinched like I'd slapped her. 30 minutes later, she was gone. The house felt different without her. Not empty exactly, but cleaner somehow. Like an infection had been removed. I poured myself 3 fingers of bourbon and sat in my chair, thinking about 20 years of marriage and how quickly it could all disappear. Then I started planning my next move. The call came at 7 in the morning, 3 days after Lila moved out. My brother Mike, his voice tight with anger. What the hell did you do to Lila? I was in my workshop, installing a new security system, better cameras, motion sensors, the works. After Brett's little treasure hunt through my bedroom, I wasn't taking any chances. Good morning to you too, Mike. Don't give me that shit. Lila called Sarah crying last night. Said you threw her out of the house for no reason. Sarah was Mike's wife, Lila's closest friend since college. They'd been bridesmaids in each other's weddings, godmothers to each other's children. If Lila was going to spin this story, Sarah would be her first audience. No reason, huh? That's interesting. She said you've been paranoid and controlling, accusing her of things she never did. She's scared of you, Will. I set down my screwdriver and gave Mike my full attention. Scared of me? What exactly did she say I did? She said you've been following her, going through her phone, making wild accusations about her having an affair. Wild accusations? Yeah. She said there's no other man, that you're having some kind of breakdown and imagining things that aren't there. I walked over to my computer and pulled up the security footage from 3 nights ago. Brett and Lila on my couch, his hands under her shirt, her head thrown back in pleasure. Mike, I need to ask you something, and I want you to think carefully before you answer. In 20 years of marriage, have I ever lied to you about anything important? No, but have I ever been paranoid or controlling with Lila? Well, no, but people change, Will. Stress can make a man. Have I ever, in your entire life, made up stories or created drama where none existed? A long pause. No. Then why would I start now? I don't know, but Lila was really upset. She said you changed the locks on her. I changed the locks because she gave her boyfriend a key to my house. Her boyfriend? Will, come on. His name is Brett Fulton. He's a lawyer at her firm. They've been having an affair for at least 6 months. That's impossible. Lila would never— Mike, stop. Just stop and listen to me. I have security footage of them together. I have evidence of him going through my personal belongings when he thought I wasn't watching. I have witness statements from people who've seen them together acting like a couple. Another pause, longer this time. Why didn't you tell me? Because I hoped I was wrong. Because I wanted to handle it quietly. Because I didn't want to destroy Emma's image of her mother. Jesus, Will. Are you sure? I'm sure. What are you going to do? I don't know yet. But Mike? Lila is going to try to turn everyone against me. She's going to play the victim and make me the villain. I need to know. Are you on my side or hers? I'm on your side, brother. Always. Good. Because this is about to get ugly. I was right. By the end of the week, the battle lines were drawn. Sarah had chosen Lila's side, which meant Mike was caught in the middle. Their marriage was strained to the breaking point as Sarah accused Mike of enabling his brother's abusive behavior. While Mike tried to defend me without sharing details I'd asked him to keep confidential. Tom and Jennifer Walsh, our couple friends for 15 years, had also chosen sides, Lila's. She'd gotten to them first with her version of events, painting herself as the victim of a controlling, paranoid husband who'd become dangerous. The Walshes had been like family to us. Tom and I had coached Emma's soccer team together. Jennifer and Lila had planned countless dinner parties and girls' weekends. Now they were treating me like a stranger. I found out just how complete the betrayal was when I ran into Tom at the hardware store on Saturday morning. Will. His voice was cold, formal. Tom, how's it going? Fine. He started to walk away, then turned back. I heard what you did to Lila. That's not the man I thought you were. What exactly did you hear I did? You know what you did? No, Tom, I really don't. Why don't you tell me? He glanced around the store, making sure we weren't attracting attention. She told us everything. How you became obsessed with the idea that she was cheating. How you followed her, went through her things, accused her of having affairs with every man she worked with. How you finally snapped and threw her out in the middle of the night with nowhere to go. Every word was a carefully crafted lie, designed to make me look like an unstable abuser and her look like an innocent victim. And you believed her. Why wouldn't I? I've known Lila for 15 years. She's not a liar. Apparently, you don't know her as well as you think. Are you saying she made it all up? I'm saying there's another side to this story. Yeah? What side is that? I looked at Tom Walsh, this man I'd considered a friend who was so eager to believe the worst about me without even asking for my version of events. The side where your good friend Lila has been screwing her colleague for 6 months and lying about it to everyone, including our daughter. Tom's face flushed red. That's bullshit, Will. Lila's not like that. How do you know? Because I know her. Do you? When's the last time you saw her wearing her wedding ring? He opened his mouth to answer, then closed it. When's the last time she mentioned me in conversation without rolling her eyes, or making some comment about how I work too much or don't understand her career? That's normal marriage stuff. Is it? When's the last time Jennifer complained about you to other people? She doesn't. Exactly, because she loves and respects you. When's the last time you heard Lila say anything positive about me to anyone? Tom was quiet now, thinking. Tom, in 15 years of friendship, have I ever lied to you about anything important? No. Have I ever been controlling or abusive with Lila? No, but have I ever shown any signs of paranoia or mental instability? No. Then why are you so quick to believe I suddenly became all of those things overnight? He stared at me for a long moment. Because the alternative is that Lila has been lying to all of us for months, and that would mean you don't know people as well as you think you do. I left him standing there in the hardware store, probably wondering if everything he thought he knew about his friends was wrong. The answer was yes. That evening, I got a call from Emma. She was crying. "Dad, what's happening? Mom called me and said you two are separated. She said she's staying with Sarah and Mike because you won't let her come home." "Em, slow down. Take a breath. She said you're having problems and that she's trying to get you help, but you won't listen. She said you think she's cheating on you, but she's not. She would never do that." My daughter, 300 miles away, caught in the middle of her parents' war. "Emma, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Your mother and I are having serious problems, yes. But I want you to know that none of this is your fault, and no matter what happens between us, we both love you more than anything in the world." "But Dad," she said. "I know what she said. And someday, when you're older, I'll tell you the whole truth about what happened. But right now, I need you to focus on school and not worry about us." "How can I not worry? You're my parents." "Because you're 20 years old and you have your own life to live. Your mom and I are adults, and we'll figure this out." "Are you getting divorced?" The question hung in the air like a death sentence. "I don't know, sweetheart. Maybe." She started crying harder. "I can't believe this is happening. You two were always so happy together." Were we? Or had I just been so focused on work and providing for my family that I'd missed the signs that my wife was desperately unhappy? Sometimes people grow apart, Em. It doesn't mean we love you any less. "I know, but... Dad, are you okay? Really?" "I'm okay, hurt, but okay." "Good, because I need you to be okay." After she hung up, I sat in my empty house and thought about the friends I'd lost, the family members who were questioning my sanity, and the daughter who was caught in the middle of a war she didn't understand. Lila had played this perfectly. She'd gotten out ahead of the story, controlled the narrative, and painted herself as the victim. Everyone who mattered in our social circle believed her version of events. Everyone except Mike, and even he was struggling with the pressure Sarah was putting on him to choose sides. I was alone, isolated, and according to half the people I'd considered friends, probably dangerous. Perfect. If they wanted to see dangerous, I'd show them dangerous. But first, I had some research to do. The private investigator's office smelled like stale coffee and broken dreams. Marcus Reeves was a former cop who'd gone into business for himself after a divorce that cleaned him out financially and emotionally. He understood betrayal in a way that most people didn't. "So your wife's been cheating, everyone believes her version of the story, and you want to prove she's lying," Marcus said, reviewing the notes he'd taken during our conversation. "That's the short version, yes. What's the long version?" I told him everything: the security footage, Brett's gambling debts, Lila's lies to Emma, the way our friends had turned against me without even asking for my side of the story. Marcus listened without judgment, occasionally asking clarifying questions or taking notes. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and studied me. "You know this is going to get expensive, right? And messy?" "How expensive?" "Depends on how deep you want me to dig. Basic surveillance, financial records, phone records if I can get them legally. We're talking 5 to 10,000. I thought about the money I'd been saving for Emma's medical school, the vacation fund Lila and I had been building, the retirement account I'd been contributing to for 20 years. "Do it." "All of it?" "Everything. I want to know where she goes, who she sees, how she's paying for her new lifestyle. I want to know if Brett's feeding her lines about leaving his wife. Oh wait, he's already divorced. I want to know if they're planning to get married, move in together, whatever. I want documentation of everything." Marcus smiled grimly. "You're not just looking to catch them cheating. You're building a case." "Maybe. For what? Divorce court?" "Among other things." He studied me carefully. "Mr. Baker, I have to ask. You're not planning to hurt anyone, are you? Because if you are, I can't help you." "I'm not going to hurt anyone physically, but I am going to hurt them in every other way I can legally manage." "Fair enough. Give me 2 weeks. 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, I'd have enough evidence to destroy both of them. While Marcus did his work, I did mine. I started with social media, creating fake accounts to monitor Brett and Lila's online activity. What I found was nauseating. Brett was posting photos of expensive dinners, weekend getaways, and romantic moments with a woman whose face was always just out of frame. But I recognized Lila's jewelry, her clothes, her hands. Lila had changed her relationship status from married to it's complicated, and was posting inspirational quotes about finding yourself and new beginnings. Her profile picture was a solo shot from what looked like a recent photo shoot, but the real treasure trove was in the comments. Friends and colleagues were congratulating her on her new happiness and telling her she deserved better. Several people made references to her finally breaking free and finding someone who appreciates her. The narrative was clear. Lila had been trapped in an unhappy marriage with a controlling husband and had finally found the courage to leave. It was a compelling story. It was also complete bullshit. I screenshotted everything, building a digital file that told the real story of their affair. Then I moved on to phase 2. I drove to Brett's luxury condo downtown and did some reconnaissance. The building was expensive, the kind of place that required serious money to maintain. But according to my research, Brett was essentially broke. I struck up a conversation with the doorman, a friendly guy named Carlos who was happy to chat during his slow afternoon shift. Yeah, Mr. Fulton in 12B. Nice guy, good tipper, always has beautiful women coming and going. Really? Oh yeah. This one lately, she's gorgeous. Classy, you know? They seem really happy together. That's nice. He must be doing well for himself to afford a place like this. Carlos's expression changed slightly. Well, between you and me, I think he might be having some money troubles. His rent's been late a few times lately, and the building manager's been asking questions. Interesting. Brett was living beyond his means, probably using credit to maintain his lifestyle while he waited for his investment in Lila to pay off. Has he been living here long? About 2 years. Right after his divorce, I think. Poor guy got cleaned out by his ex-wife. Poor guy, right. I thanked Carlos and drove to my next stop, Lila's new temporary home with Sarah and Mike. My brother's house was in a nice suburban neighborhood, the kind of place where people minded their own business and kept their lawns perfectly manicured. I parked across the street and waited. At 6:30, Brett's Mercedes pulled into the driveway. He got out carrying flowers and a bottle of wine, like he was courting a new girlfriend instead of continuing an affair with a married woman. Lila met him at the door. She was wearing a dress I'd never seen before, something expensive that she definitely hadn't bought during our marriage. They kissed on the doorstep like teenagers, completely oblivious to the fact that they were putting on a show for the neighbors. I took pictures with a telephoto lens, documenting their public displays of affection. Then I settled in to wait. They emerged 2 hours later, dressed for a night out. I followed them to Romano's, the same restaurant where I'd watched them have lunch weeks ago. Apparently, it was their place. I parked where I could see them through the window and called Marcus. How's the investigation going? Good. Very good. I've got surveillance footage of them together, financial records showing Brett's debt problems, and phone records that are going to be very interesting when you see them. How interesting? Let's just say your wife has been very busy and very indiscreet. What do you mean? I mean she's been texting and calling Brett dozens of times a day for months. But that's not the interesting part. The interesting part is who else she's been talking to. Who? I'll let you see for yourself when we meet tomorrow. But Mr. Baker, you're going to want to sit down when I show you this stuff. I hung up and continued watching my wife enjoy her romantic dinner with her boyfriend, using money from our joint account to pay for wine and food, while she told everyone who would listen that I was an abusive, controlling husband. Tomorrow, I'd have the ammunition I needed to fight back. Tonight, I was content to watch and plan. The next morning, Marcus spread the evidence across his desk like a prosecutor preparing for trial. Your wife's been very busy, he said, handing me a thick folder. And very stupid. The first section was surveillance photos. Brett and Lila at restaurants, walking hand in hand through downtown, kissing in parking lots, entering and leaving his condo building together. The timestamps showed that some of these photos were taken during hours when Lila had told me she was working late. The second section was financial records. Brett owed money to credit card companies, his mortgage company, and several personal creditors. His bank account showed a pattern of expensive spending, followed by desperate attempts to cover overdrafts. But the third section was the real bombshell. Phone records, Marcus said, watching my face as I read. Your wife has been in contact with a lot of people over the past few months. Brett, obviously. But also Sarah, Tom, and Jennifer Walsh, several colleagues at her law firm, and some numbers I haven't identified yet. What kind of contact? The kind where she's been carefully building her version of events. Look at the timing. He pointed to a series of calls and texts that started 3 months ago, weeks before I'd discovered the affair. She called Sarah the day after you questioned her about working late. She called Jennifer Walsh the day after you asked about her wedding ring. She's been laying the groundwork for this narrative for months, Will. The realization hit me like a physical blow. This wasn't a spontaneous affair that had spiraled out of control. This was a calculated campaign to destroy my reputation while building sympathy for herself. There's more, Marcus said, handing me another set of documents. I found some very interesting text messages. The messages were between Lila and Brett, but they weren't love notes. They were strategic discussions about how to handle me, how to manipulate our friends, and how to position themselves as the victims when the truth came out. One message from Brett to Lila made my blood run cold. Don't worry about Will. Once everyone sees how unstable he's become, no one will believe anything he says. We just need to be patient and stick to the story. Another from Lila to Brett. Sarah's completely on my side now. She thinks Will is having a breakdown. Tom and Jennifer believe everything I told them. By the time this is over, he'll be completely isolated. They hadn't just betrayed me. They'd systematically destroyed my relationships and reputation as part of their plan to be together. There's one more thing, Marcus said quietly. I found evidence that Brett's been in your house multiple times when you weren't there. Your security system shows him entering with Lila on at least 6 occasions over the past 2 months. In my house. In your bed, from what I can tell from the timing. They'd arrive in the afternoon, stay for 2 or 3 hours, then leave separately. I stared at the evidence spread across the desk. 20 years of marriage reduced to surveillance photos and phone records that proved my wife was not just unfaithful, but calculating and cruel. What do you want to do with all this? Marcus asked. I thought about Emma, caught in the middle and believing her mother's lies. I thought about Mike, struggling to support me while his own marriage suffered. I thought about Tom and Jennifer Walsh, so quick to believe the worst about me without asking questions. I thought about all the people who'd turned their backs on me based on Lila's carefully constructed lies. I want to destroy them, I said quietly. Legally? Oh yes, very legally, but very, very thoroughly. Marcus smiled. Now you're talking my language. The plan came together over the next week like a precision engineering project. Every detail calculated, every contingency planned, every possible outcome anticipated. Step 1 was the easiest. I called Emma. Dad, is everything okay? You sound different. I'm fine, sweetheart. Actually, I'm better than I've been in months. Listen, I want to invite you to something special. What kind of special? A party, a celebration, you might say. What are we celebrating? The truth. I told her I was planning a surprise gathering for the following Saturday. Friends, family, everyone who mattered in our lives. I wanted her to come home for the weekend. Is Mom going to be there? Oh yes, your mother will definitely be there. Dad, you're scaring me a little. What's this really about? Emma, do you trust me? Of course. Then trust me when I say that after Saturday, you'll understand everything that's been happening. And you'll know that no matter what anyone has told you, I love you more than life itself. I love you too, Dad. Step 2 required some technical expertise. I spent 3 days installing a sophisticated audio-visual system in my backyard, with cameras and microphones positioned to capture everything that happened in the space where I planned to hold my little gathering. Everything would be recorded, live-streamed to a private server, and automatically backed up to multiple cloud storage accounts. Whatever happened on Saturday, there would be a permanent record. Step 3 was the invitations. I called Mike first. Will, how are you holding up? Good, really good. Listen, I want to have a barbecue this Saturday. Nothing fancy, just burgers and beer and a chance for everyone to hear the truth about what's been happening. What do you mean, the truth? I mean, I have evidence, Mike. Real, documented, undeniable evidence of what Lila's been doing. And I think it's time everyone saw it. What kind of evidence? The kind that's going to change everything. Can you and Sarah come? I don't know, Will. Sarah's pretty angry about all this. She won't be angry after Saturday. Trust me. What are you planning? Justice. I called Tom and Jennifer next. Will? Tom sounded surprised to hear from me. What's up? I want to invite you and Jennifer to a barbecue this Saturday. I know things have been tense between us, but I think it's time to clear the air. I don't know if that's a good idea. Tom, you've been my friend for 15 years. Don't you think you owe me the chance to tell my side of the story? A long pause. What kind of story? The true one. The one with evidence and documentation and proof of what really happened. Will, if you're planning some kind of confrontation, I'm planning a revelation. There's a difference. Another pause. Jennifer's not going to want to come. Tell her I have video evidence of what Lila's been doing. Tell her I have phone records and financial documents and witness statements. Tell her that after Saturday, she'll know which one of us has been lying. Video evidence? Oh, yes. Very clear, very detailed video evidence. Jesus, Will. Saturday at 2 o'clock. And Tom, tell Jennifer to bring her appetite. She's going to eat a lot of crow. The hardest call was to Lila. Will, why are you calling me? I want to invite you to a barbecue this Saturday. She laughed, but it sounded forced. Are you serious? Very serious. I think it's time we had an honest conversation about our marriage, in front of people who matter to us. I'm not going to let you ambush me. No ambush, just the truth. You keep telling everyone that I'm paranoid and controlling and that you've done nothing wrong. Here's your chance to prove it. What do you mean? I mean, I'm going to present evidence of what's been happening over the past 6 months. You can defend yourself, explain your actions, tell your side of the story, in front of Emma, Mike and Sarah, Tom and Jennifer and anyone else who wants to hear it. What kind of evidence? The kind that will settle this once and for all. Unless, of course, you're afraid of what people might learn. I'm not afraid of anything. Good. Then you'll be there. Fine. But I'm bringing Brett. I was hoping you would. And I'm bringing a lawyer. Bring whoever you want, Lila. The more the merrier. What are you up to, Will? I'm up to telling the truth. Something you might want to try sometime. Saturday morning dawned clear and warm, perfect weather for a backyard barbecue. I spent the morning preparing food, testing the audio-visual equipment, and making sure everything was perfect. Emma arrived first, looking nervous and confused. Dad, what's this really about? Mom called me last night and said you were planning to humiliate her in front of everyone. Did she? What else did she say? She said you've been building some kind of case against her, trying to make her look bad because you can't accept that the marriage is over. And what do you think? Emma looked around the backyard, taking in the cameras and the seating arrangement I'd set up like a small amphitheater. I think you're planning something big, and I'm scared. I put my arms around my daughter and held her tight. Em, I need you to know something. Whatever you hear today, whatever evidence gets presented, I want you to remember that your mother and I both love you. This isn't about you, and it's not your fault. What evidence, Dad? What are you going to show everyone? The truth. Just the truth. Mike and Sarah arrived next, followed by Tom and Jennifer Walsh. The tension in the air was thick enough to cut with a knife as people took their seats and avoided making eye contact with each other. At exactly 2 o'clock, Lila arrived with Brett and another man I didn't recognize, presumably the lawyer she'd threatened to bring. Will, she said coldly, let's get this over with. Absolutely. But first, let me introduce everyone to Brett Fulton, Lila's colleague and boyfriend. Brett stepped forward, all confidence and charm. Actually, Lila and I are just friends and coworkers. I'm here to support her through this difficult time. How noble of you, I said. Please, everyone take a seat. We have a lot to cover. I walked to the front of the group, where I'd set up a large monitor connected to my laptop. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for coming. I know this is unusual, but I felt it was important for everyone to hear the truth about what's been happening in my marriage. Will, stop, Lila said. This is ridiculous. Is it? You've spent months telling everyone that I'm paranoid, controlling, and possibly dangerous. You've convinced our friends that I'm having a breakdown and imagining things that aren't there. Well, today we're going to find out who's been telling the truth. I clicked a button on my laptop, and the monitor came to life with a surveillance photo of Lila and Brett kissing in the parking lot of Romano's restaurant. This photo was taken 6 weeks ago, on a Tuesday afternoon when Lila told me she was working late at the office. Gasps from the audience. Sarah's face went white. Tom and Jennifer looked stunned. That's not what it looks like, Brett said quickly. Really? What does it look like? I clicked to the next photo, Brett and Lila entering his condo building hand in hand. This was taken 3 weeks ago on a Thursday when Lila told me she had a client dinner. Another click. Brett and Lila in my kitchen, his hands on her body, her head thrown back in pleasure. This was taken from my own security cameras in my own house on a night when Lila told me they were working on legal briefs. Emma made a small, wounded sound. Sarah was staring at the screen in horror. Will, stop this, Lila said, her voice shaking. Stop what? Telling the truth? Isn't that what you wanted? An honest conversation? I clicked to the next screen, phone records showing hundreds of calls and texts between Lila and Brett over the past 6 months. These are phone records showing the frequency of contact between my wife and her colleague. Notice how the calls increase right around the time Lila started telling people I was becoming paranoid and controlling. Another click. Text messages between Lila and Brett discussing their strategy for handling me. And these are text messages where they discuss how to manipulate our friends and family into believing that I'm unstable. I read Brett's message aloud. Don't worry about Will. Once everyone sees how unstable he's become, no one will believe anything he says. Tom Walsh stood up abruptly. Jesus Christ, Lila, is this real? I can explain, she started. Can you? Can you explain this message where you tell Brett that you've convinced Sarah I'm having a breakdown? Or this one where you discuss how to isolate me from my friends? I read her message to Brett. Sarah's completely on my side now. She thinks Will is having a breakdown. Tom and Jennifer believe everything I told them. By the time this is over, he'll be completely isolated. Sarah was crying now. Mike looked like he wanted to hit someone. There's more, I said, clicking to financial records. Brett here is deeply in debt. Credit cards, mortgage, personal loans. He's been using my wife as his meal ticket while planning to destroy my reputation. That's enough, the lawyer said, standing up. This is harassment. This is evidence. Evidence that my wife and her boyfriend have been conducting a systematic campaign to destroy my relationships while carrying on their affair. I turned to Emma, who who was staring at the screen in shock. "Em, I'm sorry you had to see this, but I needed you to know the truth about why your mother and I are getting divorced." "Mom," Emma's voice was small, broken. "Is this real?" Lila was crying now, her careful composure finally cracked. "Emma, I can explain. It's not what it looks like. It looks like you've been cheating on Dad and lying about it to everyone. I was unhappy. Your father and I grew apart, and Brett was there for me when I needed someone. So you decided to destroy Dad's reputation instead of just asking for a divorce? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like?" Emma stood up, her voice getting stronger. "Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you and your boyfriend tried to make everyone think Dad was crazy so you could play the victim." Brett stepped forward. "Emma, you don't understand the whole situation." "Don't!" Emma's voice was ice cold. "Don't you dare talk to me. You helped destroy my family." I clicked to the final screen, a legal document. "This is a divorce petition I filed yesterday. Lila, you're being served with papers. The grounds are adultery, and I have more than enough evidence to prove it." The lawyer took the papers and handed them to Lila, who stared at them like they were written in a foreign language. "I'm also filing a civil suit against Brett for alienation of affection and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Turns out, Ohio still recognizes those torts." Brett's face went pale. "You can't do that." "I can, and I am. You systematically destroyed my marriage and my reputation as part of a calculated plan to steal my wife. That's going to cost you." I looked around at the group of people who had been my friends and family. I want everyone here to understand something. I didn't call this gathering to humiliate anyone or to seek revenge. I called it because the truth matters. For months, you've been told that I'm unstable, paranoid, and possibly dangerous. You've been told that my wife is an innocent victim who finally found the courage to leave an abusive marriage. I gestured to the evidence on the screen. This is the real story. My wife has been having an affair for at least 6 months. She and her boyfriend have been systematically destroying my relationships and my reputation as part of their plan to be together. They used my house, my bed, and my trust to carry on their affair while telling everyone who would listen that I was the problem. Sarah stood up, her face streaked with tears. "Lila, how could you? How could you lie to me like that?" "Sarah, please. I defended you. I fought with my own husband because I believed you were telling the truth." Tom Walsh was shaking his head in disgust. 20 years of friendship, and you were lying the whole time." "It wasn't the whole time," Lila protested. "The affair only started 6 months ago." "But the lies started long before that," I said quietly. "The lies started the moment you decided I wasn't enough for you anymore and began looking elsewhere instead of talking to me about our problems." I turned to Emma, who was staring at her mother with a mixture of hurt and disgust. "Em, I need you to know that none of this is your fault. Your mother and I failed each other, but we both love you completely." "I know, Dad, and I know you're not the bad guy here." Brett cleared his throat. "Look, this has gotten out of hand. Lila and I are in love. We didn't mean for anyone to get hurt." "You didn't mean for anyone to get hurt?" Mike stepped forward, his voice dangerous. "You systematically destroyed my brother's reputation. You made his friends and family think he was losing his mind. You used his house to carry on your affair. What part of that wasn't meant to hurt someone? We were trying to protect ourselves." "You were trying to have your cake and eat it too," Emma said, her voice steady and cold. "You wanted to be together, but you didn't want to face the consequences of breaking up a family." The lawyer whispered something to Lila, who nodded and stood up. "Will, I think we should discuss this privately." "No. We're way past private discussions. You made this public when you decided to destroy my reputation. Now everyone gets to see the truth. What do you want from me?" "I want you to tell Emma the truth. I want you to apologize to Mike and Sarah for lying to them and trying to destroy their marriage. I want you to apologize to Tom and Jennifer for manipulating them into believing I was abusive. and I want you to face the consequences of your choices. And if I do that, then maybe someday Emma will be able to forgive you. Maybe our friends will be able to trust you again. Maybe you'll be able to live with yourself." Lila looked around at the faces staring back at her, her daughter's disappointment, her best friend's betrayal, the disgust of people who had once cared about her. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." "Sorry for what?" I asked. "For cheating, for lying, for trying to make everyone think you were the problem when I was the one who destroyed our marriage." Emma started crying. Sarah put her arm around her, shooting Lila a look of pure contempt. "I think we're done here," I said quietly. "Lila, you have 30 days to remove your belongings from the house. After that, anything left behind goes to charity." We're done, Lila. We've been done for months. The only difference is that now everyone knows it." As people began to leave, Emma came over and hugged me tightly. "I'm sorry, Dad. I'm sorry I believed her lies. You didn't know, sweetheart. She's your mother. You wanted to believe the best of her. Are you going to be okay?" I looked around at the wreckage of my marriage, my family, my social circle. Everything was different now. Everything was broken, but for the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. "Yeah, Em, I'm going to be just fine." Brett and Lila left together, their lawyer trailing behind them like an undertaker. Mike and Sarah stayed to help clean up, Sarah apologizing over and over for believing Lila's lies. Tom and Jennifer Walsh approached me as I was taking down the audio-visual equipment. "Will," Tom said quietly, "I owe you an apology." "Yes, you do. I should have asked for your side of the story before I judged you." "Yes, you should have. Can you forgive us?" I looked at these people who had been my friends for 15 years, who had been so quick to believe the worst about me without even asking questions. "I can forgive you," I said finally, "but I'll never forget how easily you threw away our friendship based on lies." They nodded and left, their heads hanging in shame. As the sun set over my backyard, I sat alone with a beer and thought about justice and revenge and the difference between the two. I had destroyed Lila's reputation the same way she had tried to destroy mine, with the truth. I had exposed Brett's schemes and his financial desperation. I had shown everyone who had believed their lies exactly what kind of people they really were. It felt good. It felt like justice. But it also felt empty, because at the end of the day, I was still a man whose wife had betrayed him and whose friends had abandoned him. The difference was that now everyone knew the truth, and sometimes that has to be enough. 6 months later, the divorce was final. Lila got almost nothing. Ohio's adultery laws saw to that. Brett's civil lawsuit cost him what little money he had left, and he was eventually forced to declare bankruptcy. Emma and I grew closer than we'd ever been. Mike and Sarah worked through their problems and stayed married. Tom and Jennifer Walsh moved away, unable to face the shame of how they'd treated me. I started dating again, eventually. Found someone who appreciated honesty and loyalty, someone who understood that trust, once broken, is almost impossible to repair. Lila and Brett's relationship didn't survive the aftermath of their exposure. Turns out, love built on lies and betrayal doesn't have much of a foundation. She tried to reach out to Emma a few times, but our daughter wasn't interested in rebuilding a relationship with someone who had lied to her so completely. "I don't hate her," Emma told me one day, "but I don't trust her, and I can't have a relationship with someone I don't trust." Smart girl, my daughter. She learned that lesson earlier than I did, but she learned it well. As for me, I learned that sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. Sometimes the best revenge is simply telling the truth and letting people see exactly who they've been defending. Sometimes the best revenge is justice, and sometimes justice is enough.